Welcome to Day Zero Update for March 2nd, 2025. I'm your host, Chris Elogi.
I'm Brandon Perkins.
And I'm Dandra Victorio.
And yeah, we've got a busy week of news.
Yes,
we
we
had
do.
the ID at Xbox showcase with a number of interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
Annapurna Interactive had their own showcase with some neat stuff there as well. We had everybody else decided this is also the week they wanted to announce dates for their things.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the Pokemon Presents showcase barely had things to talk about, like two things. But we also had one of the biggest publishers deciding they're going to shut down 3 of their studios. Shut down one of their most anticipated games coming up at some point. As well as more stuff that's happening. We'll get to all of that a little bit later. We'll talk about what we've been playing here. First off, I've been playing some Monster Hunter Wilds. I got that for the launch. Played a couple hours of it, which I'm enjoying a good bit so far. You can definitely tell that they have looked at the previous games and tried to figure out sort of what people had issues with, how to get people on board a little bit more quickly, and so they've done a lot of work on that front here. So especially you get like somebody early on, one of your people in your party that is like, what kind of weapon do you want? And you kind of answer a little quick quiz of sorts, and they recommend you weapons. That's pretty nice. So obviously by default you get one of everything, so you can try it out as you need to. But yeah, I'm going with the switch sword, whatever they call it, that switches between an axe and a sword, kind of thing.
Yeah, so switch axe.
Yeah, something like that. And sort of getting around can be a bit of a chore. So they have these big birds that you can ride around on called the secrets that can essentially just mainline you to the place you're going. So you can kind of just hit a button and they'll just kind of go there for you, which can be nice. Though if you're also trying to just explore a little bit, they can be a little annoying, but you can just get off of them. It's not too hard, that kind of stuff. So I'm still fairly early on, so I haven't delved into a lot just yet. But I am enjoying it so far. The story stuff has been pretty decent. You guys are on this big ass airship and find this kid stranded out in this desert, who belongs to this tribe of people that they don't know about, but supposedly live in the Forbidden Lands, and the people that live nearby don't know anything about their potential tribe, at least so far, and that's not great for them. But that's the whole thing there. They're trying to figure out, like, can we get this kid back to his people? And along the way, you're kind of running into other people that live nearby and sort of seeing what they have to go through as they're dealing with their own ways of keeping the monsters at bay without the need for weapons like your people do. And having all that fun there. So yeah, that's been fun so far. Taking out some monsters, nothing really too hard just yet, but that's been enjoyable. I've also been playing some more Avowed, doing some stuff that feels pretty big. I don't know, but there's side quests, so imagine for people that might be just mainlining this, you're gonna miss out on some interesting stuff involving a person who I guess is technically a godlike, but they have been alive for 600 years, something like that, and very much have delusions of grandeur as a result of it, as they're trying to find interesting ways of bringing back gods in some wild ways. So I was playing around with that a little bit, trying to see like what was going on there, and I have a save that I can go back and mess around with that if I need to. But yeah, that's been fun, and as I'm kind of essentially doing grinding with all this stuff, I'm getting a bit more powerful than some of these enemies, which is nice. I would definitely say if you have an issue with spiders, this game is going to throw tons of spiders at you early on.
Yeah.
I've gone into spider dens and all that kind of stuff, so that's been fun. I don't think they have any sort of arachnophobia thing to it. I believe Monster Hunter Wilds does have an arachnophobia mode, so that has a way of dealing with it, but
It does, yeah.
Vow does not, so you're gonna have to deal with that. So yeah, that's been fun. I've got like 15 hours in that now, so I'm enjoying that. Let's see. The other game I've been playing is Minami Lane. This is a Steam game that's been out for just about a year. I think it came out at the end of February last year. It's kind of a chill city builder of sorts, though it's not really a city builder in a sense. Basically, what you're doing here is you are kind of building out this neighborhood, essentially, just so it's technically one side of the street. And you start with, usually a house that has some people in it, maybe one business or something like a park or something. You're managing sort of these different meters and satisfaction of the residents there. But the kind of core conceits initially is that you have these missions you're going on. It's like the first one's basically like get to the it has like a list of what the stats need to be at, and you have to do as like a bonus objective, which I think for that one was get these completed within 12 in-game days, and each day you're kind of managing what you've got there, and you're kind of looking like, okay, I've got money to buy something, and I need more people, or I need more. I think they call it beauty, which is usually what you put in parks for, that kind of stuff. Or you need more money, so you put in a shop and you deal with that. And the shops have this thing called a recipe, essentially. So, like the first mission you get, you're focused on a ramen shop that you're picking how much of the 4 ingredients you're putting in it, the main bowl of ramen you're selling, and you're not going to figure it out right away, but essentially you just pick what you want. You can there's a set price for that, then you pick the sort of the profit on top of that for the total price that you're going to get. And you're paying attention to the reactions that people have to it. You can click on them and see them say like, I would like less eggs in this. And so, like, okay, when I get back, you eventually unlock the feature where you can save those responses so that when you get to the end of the day, you can go and adjust the recipe before the next day. And so you kind of fine tune it. You get scored out of 10 for price and for the recipe itself. And so you're trying to get it both at 10 out of 10, which is not too hard initially. It's just a matter of how many days you spend on it, unless you're somehow way off. But generally, it's not too hard. And so, yeah, you're trying to complete the objectives for these missions. There's 5 total missions, and then it has a limited mode, which is where it kind of gets more challenging because they will throw in every day you have like this newspaper that shows up, that you're kind of paying attention to the headlines, because it'll tell you like, hey, for this day, houses are 20% cheaper. So like, okay, maybe I'll get a house here and sort of save some money on that. Or it'll be like, there's going to be 30% less customers on your shops today, that kind of stuff. So you're kind of dealing with all that kind of stuff. And yeah, your shops can range from ramen shops, there's boba tea shops, there's, like a convenience store, a bookstore, a few others. If you go into the endless mode, you can do a chill version of that where there's no objectives, but the other one's sort of the tougher one that throws in these random tweaks to what you're gonna get for that day, kind of stuff. So luckily you can do separate saves for that stuff, so you can um, decide how you want to go with that stuff. But it's a pretty simple game, but it's pretty easy to kind of uh, get into. One more day, try and get this mission done, or see what the next thing you're going to do is, all that kind of stuff. So it ends up being a pretty good and pretty easy to kind of play, longer than you might expect for it. But yeah, it's normally $5. I got it on sale for $3, so I feel like it was a pretty good price for that. And yeah, it's been fun. And it's based on like you're a Japanese sort of neighborhood, so I believe it is Japanese indie devs, so they kind of built it all for that. And oh yeah, it's the aesthetic is kind of based on Tanuki, so you're looking to pick up trash on the streets, and one of the pieces of trash will inevitably be the Tanuki, and you get additional change for your total. So you're encouraged to pick up all that stuff for you have more money for the next day, kind of stuff. Sometimes you get a bunch of trash, sometimes you don't get that much trash. When you get further into the game, there'll be cats that you pet to get some additional cash, and I think there's also bikers that you can high five by clicking on them. So they got some additional stuff there, but yeah, it's kind of just one of those fun little chill games to play for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever works for you. So that's been nice to play some. But then I played a bunch of Steam Next Fest demos. I've got videos for most of these here. There's TMNT Tactical Takedown from Strange Scaffold that I've been enjoying. It is as you might guess, like a tactical game. Story-wise, it's set after, I believe, Shredder and Splinter have both passed away. So the Turtles are kind of on their own, and the Foot Clan is run by Kurai. But yeah, it starts with, at least in its initial story bits, Michelangelo's in the lair, and the foot soldiers have invaded, and so he must fight his way out, then go find his brothers. And so the first stage, you're kind of getting the hang of things, and he has a handful of different moves, usually some basic stuff for like jumping around to get to enemies, and you have basic attacks and some that are more advanced, like that'll be like, oh, you're gonna skateboard and jump over here, and if you run into an enemy on the way, they'll take some damage, that kind of stuff. And nothing really too complicated, but it feels like the way they've kind of designed all of this, like they've managed to adapt the typical beat 'em up gameplay you would expect out of a TMNT game, but adapt it for a tactical game. So like initially, once it's introduced, you're beating up these enemies in the first part of the area you start in, and then you see the area you're in start the color of the tiles turns red, and that means after the end of the next turn, that area is just going to disappear. And if you're not out of that way, out of that area, you will die. But in beat 'em up fashion, you have 3 lives for each stage, so you get an opportunity to kind of keep going on if you mess up. But with the movement options, you do have a pretty easy time of getting out of those areas. In the second stage, you're kind of back up on the surface and in the streets, and you're fighting, foot soldiers, mousers, all that kind of stuff. Baxter Stockman shows up in the story stuff, so you're fighting some robots and such, as well as foot soldiers. And on the streets, you have warnings that cars are going to be driving by. So you want to definitely kind of get enemies out into the streets and let them take damage that way, if not get killed by it, while you're staying out of the way of that stuff. There are occasional traps you can get into for either setting up enemies for it or running into yourself for taking damage. They do have pizza boxes around to pick up to refill your health. But as I said, you have 3 lives, so you're not really in too much of a trouble for failing, at least in the stages they have here in the demo. But yeah, by the end of the second stage, you run into Raph, so you kind of team up there. That's as far as I've played, but yeah, that's it's been really fun and kind of a nice surprise for how well this all works. We're adapting your kind of beat 'em up approach to sort of a tactical game, and they give you action points for each turn. I think 5 or 6, and that works out pretty well. So you kind of keep taking out enemies, and at least usually take out a couple enemies per turn, depending on how well they line up for you to take them out. So yeah, that's been nice. I don't think it has a date anytime soon, but that may be out later this year. Let's see. I played Wanderstop, which is the new game from the creator of the Stanley Parable. His new game. One of the other notable people is C418, the composer of Minecraft. Has done a bunch of music for this, and initially the story is kind of a bit different than I was expecting, as it starts with the story of this character named Alta, who is a fighter, a swordsman specifically, who gets beats but kind of keeps working to improve herself, and is not beat in battle for like 3 years, something like that. But then she gets beats, and then I think pretty quickly gets beat again, and kind of has lost a lot of her confidence, and so she is trying to find this master that she wants to train her, but as she's running through the forest, she sort of gets betrayed by her body, essentially. Like, she cannot carry her sword anymore, and then eventually passes out, and sort of finds herself having been saved by this person named Boro, and brought to the area outside of this tea shop that he runs. And in the process of him like talking to her and realizing she's kind of put a lot of pressure on herself and all that, and sort of offers to let her rest here, and help him out with his shop for a little bit, and sort of runs you through the tutorial for all that stuff, which works pretty well. From what they show, he has like an elaborate tea machine. It requires doing a number of different things, but you also have to grow the plants to make the tea leaves and all that, and have that set up. They have interesting ways of doing like hybrid plants and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely a lot that potentially is going to go on here as like a life sim kind of game where you're farming and doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a neat little story. I'm looking forward to seeing what the full game is. This is out on the 11th, so it'll be out next week for that. But yeah, that'll be nice to see. And who was on here? Carla Zamanches, the co-creator of Gone Home and Tacoma, so she's also been working on this as well. So yeah, that's a really impressive game. So I'm looking forward to playing some more of that. I assume that there's going to be a dark side or something to that, but yeah, as you might expect from somebody that worked on the Stanley Parables. So we'll see how that goes. Then I did played the demo for Squeak Cross, Home Squeak Home, which is a Picross game that basically is Picross in the framework of an Animal Crossing kind of game. Not necessarily the life sim elements of it, but you essentially at the start create a mouse, and you're kind of doing puzzles to open up or find items that you can put in their house. So chairs, tables, beds, that kind of stuff. And when you go back to the home, you can see the mouse kind of hanging out and doing things. You can also click on things to have them interact with it. Along the way, you also make clothing items for the mouse. and so you can do a bit of dress up there and all that, and the puzzles, the controls, and all that work pretty well as you would want out of this. So that's been fun. There's a couple things that I had issues with just control wise compared to the way that I typically like this kind of game to control, and the devs were on Blue Sky, and I offered to explain the issues I had, and they seemed to say they wouldn't be too hard to implement. It's mainly like things like it lets you loop around from one side of the puzzle to the other. But when you're, say, filling in a bunch of spots and sort of holding down the button and moving, it hard stops, and then you have to hit the button again to cross to the other side and continue filling them in. And so the Picross doesn't sort of has options for making that a smooth transition, so you don't necessarily have to have it hard stop for that kind of stuff. The other one was that the fastest movement speed for the cursor is not as fast as I would like. I think Picross allows a lot faster, and so they seem to be pretty receptive that those would be pretty easy to put in. So yeah, that game is pretty cool. The challenge they have you do a decent amount of puzzles before they open up the challenge puzzles. Where unlike Picross, where their Mega Picross is essentially the same puzzle, but they slightly change how they display the numbers in a way to kind of be a little more challenging. The way they do it here for their challenge puzzles, essentially they take the item itself as like a 3D model and rotate it and then build a puzzle out of that. So it's a different puzzle, but for the same item. And so that kind of adds a little more challenge because you're like, oh, this isn't going to be the exact same solution. Just the process you have to figure it out is a little bit different. Here it's a different puzzle, but it's for the same item. So you essentially get, if they do it for every single item in the game, you get double the puzzles versus the way they displayed in Picross. They'll tell you the entire number of the puzzles, but you're essentially having half the puzzles that are listed there because they're all the same puzzles, but doubled. So yeah, that's out later this year, I believe. They don't have a date on that, so that's what I'm looking forward to. Then I played a demo for Nice Day for Fishing. This is a Team 17 published indie game. That is, I think, a sequel to another game from the same the same developer. What's their name? It's Fusion Play, all one word. Because yeah, in the game or on the website, I think it was, they called this game technically Epic NPC Man, Nice Day for Fishing. And so their previous game was called Epic NPC Man. This is sort of a follow-up to that.
Yeah.
In a way, but the premise for this game as it starts is that, you are part of this MMORPG where the adventurers are sort of getting quests from, the townspeople. You are the fisherman. And you just have, essentially like one line. They have voiced lines in this for some things. But your guy just says, "Nice day for fishing." It also has a weird laugh line as well. But you go along, you do your thing, and then you run into this character who's like a wizard that ends up bringing to life this big bad guy. Yeah, that has you kind of. Actually, what he does, he has you find this chest at the bottom of, or no, those fish at the bottom of a lake. That it's a dark fish, and ends up being that the spirit of this really bad guy is trapped in there as you deal with the fish. And the way things go is that the bad guy ends up doing something that causes all the adventurers to disappear from the game. Essentially, like they all get disconnected, and destroys the town pretty much. And as all the NPCs sort of wake up, somehow you have become an adventurer. You have like a level 1 thing next to your name, to indicate that you're now like a player character. And so you kind of get quests from the other townspeople, and that's kind of the framework that this is all being played as. You're the one remaining adventurer that can save the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you do things is you fish. You're around collecting fish. The fishing minigame is pretty simple. You just pay attention to where your cursor is showing where you're gonna have your fish go, your line go, and then you throw it down, and you can use your analog stick to have it go down faster or go up. But you're just waiting for the fish that are kind of swimming back and forth to cross the path of your line, and you pick it up. You hit a button to pull it up. But the stronger fish will, fight the line, so you kind of don't want to be pulling as the fish are pulling back, kind of trying to fight them and pull it back. But yeah, played a decent bit of this, and it seems really neat. So I'm curious to see more of it, because it's definitely one of those kind of meta games to it that seems pretty nice. So yeah, that is supposed to be out later this year. Played a demo for Sports Renovations. This is a simulator game of sorts where you're part of this renovation company, particularly that is renovating the big sports arena in town, as that was supposed to be getting torn down and turned into other businesses and such. But then you convince the city to let you restore it. But you have like X amount of days, 60 days or something to do it, I guess. And in sort of the process, you are earning money by helping other companies sort of restore their businesses, and I assume putting that money into the arena itself. They don't really go into much explanation on that. You do one job, and then the demo's over, so it's not really explained too much there, but the mechanics work pretty well. You're basically just going around this area, using trash bags to collect trash, throwing those in a dumpster, tearing apart things that need to be torn apart. You have a big hammer that does that. It just breaks them up and they disappear, essentially. So it's not playing things too realistically, but kind of having it be just realistic enough to be entertaining. Yeah, this was like a boxing club that needed to be renovated. So you kind of build up the boxing ring and set up, exercise stations and that kind of stuff. And you get a little bit of leeway in some of that stuff for picking what to put in there. But some things are mandated, so that works out pretty well. I guess that'll be out later this month, so I'm curious to see more of that. And then the last one I played is Solar Punk. This is a game that is teased in part of a game about digging a hole. If you go in the garage, there's some box art for this game that's sitting on a shelf there, which is because the game is from the same developer. I think that was a game about digging holes, kind of a side project they made, probably for funding purposes, I'm guessing. It seems like it's done pretty well, so that worked out for them. Solar Punk is a fairly basic crafting, survival game of sorts. You are starting in this like island in the sky that is, as you're just kind of wandering around picking up rocks and sticks. The weird thing I would say here is that the rocks and sticks like just respawn every so often. So you may not see them initially, but after a little bit, you'll start seeing them around and you just pick them up. So they'll just kind of keep appearing every so often. Same for some of the bushes, because you find cotton bushes and berry bushes and such. You eat the berries to kind of get your fill up your health and hunger and water meter, that kind of stuff, and you get seeds out of that you plant to make more of that. So yeah, that's been pretty decent. I got to the point where I could start building a building, but yeah, it seems fine for what it is. It has some neat little bonus things, like you get wax because you build essentially beehives, or whatever, like the little housing for them. And it has like a little thing that fills up with beeswax because that's super realistic there. But you can get like water by building out a little thing that collects rainwater. That's how you can sort of get some water for drinking purposes. You can also build a well that's you can use to fill up your watering can. But the water there is dirty, so you can't use it yourself. So yeah, there's some neat touches there, but that seems like something that will probably go into early access at some point and kind of grow from there. But for what it is right now, it's fairly bare bones in this demo. But seems neat. But yeah, that's been pretty much what I have been playing. So how about you, Brandon?
Well, as for me, I am still playing Trails Through Daybreak 2, and I'm just about finished with it. I finished up Act 3. We're getting ready to do the what I'm assuming is going to be the school festival, because, that's where all these games eventually go to.
Hell yeah.
And, yeah, after that, I'm pretty sure, knowing the way these games typically take, after that is going to be the real true final battle for this game, where it's going to be some giant, screen-filling enemy that we have to kill. But I'll be starting that tonight. I did kind of like the way that they tried to sort of tie the villain of the game to like Calvard's own history. My only issue is that I wish they did that more, because they're at least so far. It might be different for the next game that came out last year, where their overall history is a lot more involved with it. Because, but yeah, like they kind of hint at that. Yeah, there was some strife between the founders of the Republic, and that it involved one of them basically turning traitor and then getting executed. But that's all I'll say about that. But there are also little things that are hinting at the fact that just little here and there that I've been thinking about. It's like, I'm starting to think that somehow the late good professor was somehow probably related to the revolutionaries in some way. And that ultimately this whole like time thing that's going on is probably going to play a big part in the next game. But yeah, so far, still love it. Still a lot of fun. Getting ready to get through the last part of it and see where it goes. But on top of that, I've also gotten back into playing Stardew Valley. I had now that I have a computer that doesn't run on a potato, not only can I play Stardew Valley again, with no problems, but I can also mod it now. So one of the first things I did is I went ahead and modded it for Stardew Valley Expanded, which is it's a fan-made mod where it takes the original game, but it grows the size of the town. It makes like new crops that you can grow. There's like a new dungeon as well. There's like new story arcs. There's a bunch of new characters introduced, specifically relating to the Adventurers Guild, that you end up meeting in the original game when you start going into the mine. And there's like a whole area now called Castle Village, as well. It's just, again, I forgot how just incredibly addictive that game really is. And how it never, ever, ever seems tedious. Like, that's what really amazes me about Stardew Valley. The overall game cycle, the gameplay cycle is so addictive it never gets boring. And there's always new stuff to find. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. So Dan Reb, what about you?
Yeah, I've been playing a little bit more Monster Hunter Wilds, and I talked about it at length last week when the embargo lifted. reviews up on SmashPad. And yeah, like as I mentioned, the game doesn't really start until like you roll the credits and
Mm.
you unlock the upper tier of things, and it just gets a whole lot more difficult from there. And the
Mm.
cool thing was it did a pretty solid job at like holding my hand in order for me to roll the credits. Like I
Mm.
have the tendency to go ahead and ask for help as soon as the hunt begins, which I didn't feel like I really had to do, and that was just because of the dual blades. One of the reasons why I was never like the most hardcore Monster Hunter player was because I was always using the hammer or the sword, and I didn't realize like just how fun the dual blades were. Like it makes the game play more like Ninja Gaiden than Dark Souls, and it made it more fun to me as a result. So yeah, I'm definitely having some fun here, and now that the game is like out, it's cool just seeing the community have some fun with it. That being said, I do have a lot of friends who are having issues with PC, so that's rough to see, and I hope Capcom figures that out. But yeah, like the main way like I would really improve it now is just to fix the UI.
Mm.
A lot of things are really tough in that regard, and like I'm one of those people that isn't really impressed with the way the game looks.
Mm-hmm.
When the game was first unveiled, like during the Game Awards a couple of years ago, like it looked absolutely beautiful. It looked great behind closed doors, and like now that I have it in my hands, it just seems like the RE engine just isn't really built well for this kind of game. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you think of a Resident Evil game, like all of that stuff is like gonna be indoors or in a house, and then all of a sudden you have Monster Hunter and you want to be open world. It just doesn't lend itself well to that kind of atmosphere. So I'm hoping that Capcom works on a new engine soon. But aside from that, I don't really have many complaints. Like Monster Hunter is always going to be fun. It's I really see myself using this game as like my meat and potatoes, just something to
Mm.
really enjoy throughout the year, no matter when it is. And I'm looking forward to the eventual collaborations we'll see. Like I remember when Monster Hunter World first came out, like there was a Horizon Zero Dawn collaboration. You can change your character into Aloy, and that was awesome. Like my character looks like Jey Uso for the WWE, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely having fun with that. Anyway, I also jumped into Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Man, that title's a mouthful.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm having a whole lot of fun with it. It is more along the lines of Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Again, like another long-winded title. But yeah, this game takes place immediately after the events of Infinite Wealth. But the main difference is that you're using Goro Majima, and this guy is probably like the most unhinged Yakuza out of them all. And
Mm-hmm.
he still has that trait, but the main thing with this game is that he has amnesia. He
Mm.
has no idea who he is or how it happened. And it begins with him being washed up at an island that the Polycana group was on. So if you've played Infinite Wealth, you know who these people are. And he's found by this kid, and this kid is eventually like um, he grows to like love the guy, and then there's Majima definitely returns the favor there. He helps him whenever it's needed, and he ends up being like this adventurous person. The thing that's been a little bit weird for me is that I've been playing it dubbed, and I'm not really a fan of Matthew Mercer being Goro Majima. He just isn't crazy enough for me. But
Mm.
at the same time, like I don't like turning on the Japanese voices because I'm like, just uh, a bunch of white kids speaking Japanese just doesn't really match
Mm.
well for me. So I'm like, okay, this sounds pretty chaotic. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the English here. And yeah, I've more or less gotten used to it. It's pretty cool to see. But yeah, how long to beat says this game takes about 12 hours to get through. I've
Mm.
already put in more than 20 hours into the game, and that's because like I'm doing a lot of the BS that Yakuza games are known for. There is no shortage of side quests here. Funny enough, this game is pretty much just a recycling and rehashing of all the assets found in Infinite Wealth. Like, you can
Mm.
go back to Hawaii. A lot of those same characters and NPCs are there. A lot of the NPCs from the previous side quests are all there with pretty much the same kind of side quest. So you
Mhm.
can still play Crazy Taxi. or not Crazy Taxi, but their version of it. They have their own version of Pokemon Snap. All of those old mini games come back, except with that Majima flavor. And of course, the main difference here is that it goes back to the traditional Yakuza action-based beat 'em up gameplay. With the main difference being one of his stances is just him being a pirate. So you have dual cutlasses, and you can do things like throw them at people. You have a hook shot now that you can go ahead and use to go onto roofs. He has a gun that you can use, and a lot of the trophies pretty much tie up into using all of these weapons as much as you can. But yeah, the other thing is they don't really punish you for switching to beginning, normal, or hard. You can do everything on beginner, and it's pretty cool to see. But yeah, the story is pretty solid. Again, like basically it takes place after Infinite Wealth, and Majima is there because all of the Yakuza were at Nele Island trying to, they were there after the Yakuza movement where they were pretty much removed, so they all needed jobs, and at the same time they were trying to get rid of a whole bunch of radioactive waste. And now that Infinite Wealth already happened, and they solved that problem, just a matter of like there being more secrets on that island, and it's pretty cool seeing where they go there. They have this new island called Madlantis, which is pretty much their version of the place in Yakuza Gaiden, where Kiryu went to pretty much see a black light district in the ocean. So they have things like casinos and things like that. So there's definitely a lot to do. You have your own battle arena, and the cool thing about the battles now is that now they include pirate ship battles. And I've never played Skull and Bones, but the gameplay is pretty simple. You're in your ship, and then all of a sudden you can charge at other ships there. You can shoot them using machine guns, and then after you take out the opposing ship, you have to invade their ship, and then eventually just use the traditional way of fighting. And yeah, it's been pretty fun. A lot of it is repetitive because you see a lot of cutscenes that are just recycled and used over and over again, but thankfully you can skip most of that. And like basically this game feels like a B game, and like I don't say that to insult it because we definitely do need that kind of stuff, but it has your typical like a dragon cringe stuff and like lack of polish in certain areas. Like after a battle, the game will skip a few frames before it moves on. Like sometimes I even think it freezes and things like that. But no, it really hasn't been the case. The main idea here is that I'm having fun, and like I said, like I'm 20 hours in, and I've already gone through chapter 3, and there's 5 chapters in the game, so there's definitely a whole lot to do left. One of the antagonists is actually Samoa Joe from Ring of Honor, former WWE superstar as well. So it's cool seeing the wrestlers go ahead and continue to get their piece, because Yakuza has been no stranger to wrestlers in the past. We've had Kazuchika Okada, we've had Naito, so now we're having Samoa Joe in here, and it's pretty cool to see. But yeah, really having a lot of fun with Monster Hunter, or not Monster Hunter, but Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza, and I plan on finishing it maybe even today, and then have my review up this week. Like Chris, I've also played a few Steam Next Fest games. I'll just go off what I've downloaded, but I haven't played yet. I've downloaded Wheel World, Wander Stop, which Chris played, as well as TMNT. And then as for the games that I have played, there's Haste Broken Worlds. This one is a little weird. It's more of a runner, and basically you want to try to find your way to get to the end of every stage, and it really relies a lot on momentum. So like as you're trying to run downhill from point A to point B, you gain more speed by after you jump. You want to land on slopes as you're going downhill, because if you try to jump and all of a sudden you're going uphill, it slows you down. So it's been pretty interesting. But then as I got towards the end, like I died and I had to start all over again. So yeah, this one probably isn't for me. The other one is Koira. This one is going to be published by Don't Nod, who is known for the Life is Strange games, and this one is a little different. It's more along the lines of like a Niva or a Gree, something like that. and it's a 2D sort of isometric narrative game where you use this dark figure who all of a sudden finds this dog, and you have this power to pretty much just get these musical notes out of this dog, and all of a sudden, like the songs you play can open up more parts of the world. And yeah, eventually you do that, you figure it out. It doesn't really tell you what to do. It's more of a, we'll use context clues to go ahead and like just get you through the game. And you really start to see the main character get attached to this dog. And yeah, it was definitely cool to see. The graphics are pretty nice and cartoony. At the same time, you have a soundtrack that really envelops you in this world. And the demo was about 30 minutes, and it ended with the dog being kidnapped. So that's definitely something I'm gonna try to get to once the game comes out. I think it's out in a couple months. And yeah, that one was really enjoyable. And then the other one that I played for a little bit was this game called Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3. Yeah, another mouthful of a title there, but this one was also pretty enjoyable. The game is actually a match 3 game, but it doesn't really, uh, when you say match 3, it's kind of like all of a sudden a toxic comparison to what you see from mobile games. And at the end of the day, like it does play like a match 3, but you can do so much more with it. So the game is essentially a Metroidvania slash Resident Evil inspired game where you have to go through a mansion filled with dinosaurs. The character you use is a bit of a loser and like he's just scared of everything. And yeah, you want to just go ahead and solve these match 3 puzzles in order to get through. But in addition to solving these puzzles, the game is also turn based. So, for example, if you run into a T-Rex, you enter the match 3, and you go ahead and take turns on the match 3 board in order to do things. And then the more jewels you get, it allows you to use certain abilities. So you can use things like attacks to go ahead and like defeat the dinosaur, or whether it means you want to open a door, you have to use this certain jewel as well. And yeah, I ended up playing the game for half an hour without even realizing it, and it was a lot of fun. So I'll definitely have my eye on that one as well. And yeah, I don't think Steam Next Fest is gonna be around for much longer. So I'm definitely looking forward to trying the rest of the games here.
All right, so yeah, let's get to some news. We have plenty of it here. First up, we got the March PlayStation Plus Essential lineup. And this is a big one. Relates to let's say, a recent story we've been talking about with BioWare. Because the first of the 3 games here is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. As EA has pulled the trigger to say, we do not give a shit about trying to make this a long-term seller. We just want the money we can get right now and move on.
Yep.
That's a white flag.
Because that game came out, October?
Yep.
5 months later, it's on PlayStation Plus. That's a record, I think, for any sort of big budget game.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there you go. That's what they think of that game. Which means probably get this, and then if you want to own it, just wait till later this year. I assume it'll be like 90% off, like they do for a lot of their games. At a certain point, though, this will be faster than those, I assume. At least if you have PlayStation, because they'll probably be on EA Play later this year, I assume.
Yeah, probably.
They essentially seem to be just writing it off right now. So there you go for that one. For the PS4, there's Sonic Colors Ultimate. So you can check out that Sonic game if you have not yet. Then last up here for PS5 and PS4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection. That is the very good Konami collection of 13 games here. 3 on the Game Boy, I think 3 or 4 on the NES, 2 or 3 on the Super Nintendo, and 2 or 3 on the Genesis. Bunch of games there, a lot of good extra development document stuff, local play, online play, save states, all that kind of stuff. So very fun collection. Some games not so good, like the first NES Turtles game. That is just one of those I would just say bullshit games because it's designed to wear you down and make it incredibly hard to get through it. Those save states you can kind of make it a little bit easier on you, but Turtles in Time and the arcade game, which I think they have both of the arcade games. The original and Turtles in Time, those are obviously the two best games in the collection. But check out that third Game Boy game that is kind of essentially Turtles Metroid-like. So
yeah,
there's still neat stuff here, and also has Turtles and Tournament Fighters, which is a pretty solid Street Fighter clone.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a pretty solid collection there for games this month, including one that is going to save you a lot of money because I don't think they've even put that on sale for half off yet on PSN. So
yeah,
don't have to wait for that.
Yeah, this is a heck of a lineup. Aside from Dragon Age, which I obviously haven't played, everything here is stuff that I've bought and never had the time to finish. So it's another reminder. It's like, hey, play your games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, and I say this constantly whenever it's brought up, but I'll say it once again. I have played Dragon Age Veilguard, and I did like it. I did enjoy it when I played it, but I will tell you right off the bat, the beginning segment of that game is terrible. It has this tone that's all over the place. It doesn't really do a good job of like building up your character. And it's really more something that could have been like later on in the game, when all these characters have been built up to such an extent that you grow, sort of develop a sense of attachment to them. But it kind of wastes it at the very beginning. And also just in general, like it's trying to be like this big bombastic set piece, but it just doesn't work. But if you can get past that part of the game and play the rest of it, the rest of the game is actually pretty good. So,
yeah. So yeah, there's that. Let's see, we got some more news here. PlayStation VR 2 has gotten a price drop to $399. A little bit later than I would have thought they would have done this. That's still a pretty good price for that, especially if you pair it with the PC VR adapter. So that you can play essentially both PSVR 2 games and PC VR games. It's a pretty good headset for that. But yeah, I believe it's both the base edition of PSVR 2 as well as that Horizon Call of the Mountain bundle, both at the same price. So no reason not to just get the bundle, at least while that's available. For that, so yeah, that's the headset you can check out. Like we still got the Hitman collection coming out later this year, whenever that is. The Midnight Walk, Dreams of Another, and a few other games like that. Still gets quite a few games here and there. I think they just hit 400 games released on PSVR 2, so plenty of stuff to check out. Just not much from Sony themselves. But yeah, that's the thing you can check out.
All right.
Then yeah, right here, something I wanted to highlight on Itch. There's a California Fireleaf bundle. That is $10 to get 422 items. Mostly games, though there's some tabletop RPG stuff, game development asset packs, and some other stuff in here that you can check out. But mostly games. Plenty of good indie game stuff to check out here, like Tunic being one of the games here. Cook Serve Delicious 1 and 2 are in here. Hoa, Tangle Tower, Skatebird, Octodad, Minute Fun Racer, Eldritch, a bunch of games here worth checking out. And these are games that you'd have to Google it, but you can play these on your Steam Deck. You just have to go Google the guide that the itch people wrote up to show you how to do it. If you want to play them on there. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff there. $10. It goes to for the Community Organized Relief Effort, which is an LA-based organization that offers direct monetary support to survivors of the fires and supports projects for fire resilience in affected areas and potential disaster zones. So it goes to a local charity that is not like the Red Cross or anything like that. Sort of help people out down there in Southern California that got luckily not many people died, but a lot of people lost their homes and neighborhood and all that stuff. So one way you can help out. They've already hit their first goal of 100,000. They got 163,000 right now, heading towards 200,000, and this will be available for another 11 days as of this recording. So I believe that's until probably the 12th or 13th. But yeah, that's the bundle you can get right now if you're on a PC. So there you go. That's one you can support.
Yep.
And yeah, let's see. Update here for Tetris Forever has a new updates that adds 2 new games as well as does some updates for the Tetris Time Warp game that's in it. That's the new version of Tetris that they have made for this collection. Done a bunch of stuff on that to improve it. But the games that they've added here, there's Super Tetris, which is an MS-DOS game made by Spectrum Holobytes. That was an early attempt at creating a sequel to Tetris. Let's see. The matrix is half full of garbage when a game begins. The player can earn and use bombs to clear out the spaces and find power-ups buried in the garbage. It has cooperative and competitive multiplayer modes in which 2 players play in the same matrix. The other game is Tetris by Academy Soft, version 3.12, which is the final version of Tetris created within the Soviet Union and the Academy of Sciences, ordered from Alexei Pajitnov's original Pascal code by Vadim Gerasimov. This includes a phantom mode in which all O tetraminos, the square pieces, are invisible. So yeah, that's a neat little twist that it has there. So they've also done some other tweaks to improve things in the game, but yeah, it's a good update. More Tetris you can play in there. So there you go for that if you have Tetris Forever or are looking to get it at some point in the future. So yeah, there you go. Let's see, we got some dates now ahead of the other news we have later on here. We talked about Breakout Beyond in the past couple of weeks. We finally have a date for that, March 25th. So that'll be out in a couple of weeks here. This is the Atari published Breakout game that was originally made on the Intellivision Amico, or was made for that, or was being made for that, and because that whole thing fell apart. And Atari acquired a bunch of the Intellivision games and properties and such, but not the console itself. They also got access to this game and had the developer choice provisions work on more of it and make it a full game. And it looks like they've done a pretty good job with that. So yeah, that'll be on here in a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's one to check out. It's on everything: PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Atari VCS. I thought that was supposed to be on Switch too, but okay, it is also on Switch. So everything. There you go.
All right.
Let's see the next one here. We have the first Nintendo Switch Online game leaving the service. This is a game called Super Soccer that was published by Japan. I forget who it was in Japan it was published by, but I think in the West it was published by Nintendo. And it seems like this will be the first game leaving the service since it's a subscription service and not necessarily one where you buy any of these games. It'll just be going away. Yeah, here in the US, it'll be leaving on March 27th at, I believe, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So and I believe that's going to be the same time everywhere. So it'll be at some point on the 27th or 28th, depending on where you are at in the world. So that'll be the first of these games to disappear, which seems like a possibility for any of these third-party games, since Nintendo does not own full control of those. We'll have to see if this is a more common thing coming up, or if they'll just do a new deal with the people that own the rights to the game and get it back on there. But I would assume they would have done that before this happened, not let this be a thing to happen. So
yeah,
I guess not.
All right.
Yep. Let's see here. We got more dates. Promise Mascot Agency will be out April 10th. This is the open world mascot management crime drama game. That I believe is from the people that made Paradise Killer. So yeah, you got similar vibes to that, but this seems more wacky to it. And yeah, there's a demo out now if you want to check it out. For that on a PS5, Xbox, and PC. But yeah, that'll be out April 10th, and want to keep an eye out for. See if it's got a price. Doesn't seem like it yet. So yeah, that'll be one to check out in April. Also happening in April, Forza Horizon 5 will finally be out on PS5. They announced they were bring it to PS5 in January, I believe. And so now we know that it's going to be out April 29th. And sort of as part of that, they announced all the additions and all that. So it's $60 for the base version. I believe $100 for the most expensive version, and I think there's maybe an $80 version in between. But the $100 edition, the weird thing is it gets you early access. So you can play it on the 25th if you want, which is weird for a game that is 3.5 years old. I hope nobody's paying $100 just for that perk, but it does get you the 2 expansions and the car pass and VIP stuff. So there's a decent amount of extra content there if that interests you. But yeah, it's just kind of weird to be still doing this early access thing on a game that's old like this. But yeah, it seems like it's ranking pretty high on the pre-order charts. So there's definitely plenty of people that are excited for this release. So hopefully they enjoy it. So there you go. It'll be out in April.
It's a funny story because like even the most Xbox fans didn't pay for this because this was all free on Game Pass, right? But yeah, it's PlayStation's in a cool world where they have both Forza and Gran Turismo now, so fun nonetheless.
Yeah. Although Xbox did get people to pay, I think, $35 for the upgrade to play it early. Maybe get at least one of the expansions, or maybe both. I don't know. So they got money out of people regardless, but yeah, I expect this one to do pretty well for Microsoft and Sony. So there you go. Next date here, Despelé, or Despelette. I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but this is coming to PlayStation, Switch, Xbox, and PC. On what is it? May 1st. So that's one you can check out here. This is again, it's been in a few different showcases. It's sort of a first-person slice of life soccer game, essentially, soccer adventure game. Where you're kind of in what country? Ecuador, where you are sort of in a city as they are potentially going to qualify for the World Cup, and sort of being a kid who's just kicking a soccer ball around to find friends or other people to play with, or see how adults are doing, hanging out and doing stuff, all that kind of stuff. It looks really neat for what it is. Yeah, finally gonna be out on May 1st, so that'll be cool. See that coming out here in a couple of months, so people can check that one out. And let's see, last date here is that Dauntless is going to be shut down on May 30th on PlayStation, Switch, Xbox, and PC. This is kind of a sad thing to happen because when the game initially came out, it was very much here's free to play Monster Hunter, and it's pretty good. But it seems like in the past year or so, updates they've been putting out have not really kept the audience that they had happy with anything. Kind of doing more attempts at getting money out of people, more blatant ways, and kind of just turned off a lot of the potential audience. Which is not a great thing to do, as more and more of that audience gets more and more Monster Hunter games and sees no reason to keep supporting your game. So yeah, that's they're putting out one more updates. Or no, they were working on one more updates that was supposed to be out January 16th. But was delayed. And then yeah, they've I think done some layoffs in the past couple of months as they struggled with their own financial situation. Yeah, I've had to make the tough call of announcing that they're going to be shutting this down. The servers will be shutting down on May 30th at 2:45 a.m. Eastern Time, or May 29th at 11:45 p.m. Pacific Time. So, yeah, it'll be no longer available to play. And that's a shame, but kind of a situation of the developer's own making.
Yeah, it's a bummer. You said it. I mean, Dauntless is like the best Monster Hunter clone out there. You know, it released to nice fanfare, but one, the competition is a lot. Monster Hunter is like Capcom's biggest IP right now, and then the other thing is there's not much staff because they've already went through quite a few layoffs. So you put two and two together, and not to mention the lack of updates to begin with, and
yeah.
So yeah, it's a shame, but still got a couple of months here to play it, at least until then.
Yeah.
Let's get to the rest of our news here. More industry news. There's the PlayStation, or not the PlayStation, the Pokemon Presents showcase that had a lot of stuff in it, but mostly, hey, do you like Pokemon Go? We got new content for that. We got new content for Pokemon Masters EX and Cafe Remix and Pokemon Sleep and Pokemon Unite and the trading card game, both Pocket and the actual trading card game and all that. And it's like, yeah, that's all fine. But then they announced, showed off the two most important stuff here. There's Pokemon Champions, which is a Switch and mobile game that seems to basically just be the multiplayer without the need for, playing an entire RPG to build up your team for it. It's being developed by a team called Pokemon Works and will connect to Pokemon Home so you can import your Pokemon from that. So there's maybe a little bit of need to beef up your team if you need to, but
yeah,
I'm assuming they will have means for getting some Pokemon in the game itself. But yeah, they'll have that at some point. That will be the multiplayer, as people like it in these games.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be happening. Any other thing they showed off is another trailer of Pokemon Legends ZA. Showing that off and what you can expect out of that, which is set in modern day Kalos. I believe the starters are a return of some classic ones: Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile. So you'll be able to pick amongst those two or those three, and you explore the city. Doing all that as Lumiose City is undergoing an urban redevelopment plan. There'll be discrete wild areas where you can capture more Pokemon, but it doesn't seem like it'll have the big open areas that Arceus had. I would say Arceus was kind of like Pokemon meets Monster Hunter in a sense. I believe it had like a lot of interconnected open areas that you kind of went through looking for whichever areas you needed to go to for certain Pokemon. This one seems a little more contained, fighting throughout the city and in the specific open areas outside of it. But looks neat. That'll be out later this year. They had no date for it. So I bet you'll see it in one of the directs coming up. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty fun presentation overall. Maybe not worth waking up at 6 a.m. as per usual, but there was definitely a lot of stuff for Pokemon fans here. You know, they kicked things off talking about their mobile stuff. The big news for me was Pokemon Concierge coming back. If you haven't seen it or don't have Netflix, they have the first 4 episodes up on their official YouTube channel. I totally recommend it. It is like a different kind of look at Pokemon. It's not, all about battles or breeding or whatever it may be. It's just a wholesome look at Pokemon, which I really appreciate. But yeah, talking about those big games announcements, Pokemon Champions looks like something that, you know, we've wanted an iteration of for, decades at this point. And the interesting thing that I saw was like using Pokemon Home to bring in Pokemon from Pokemon Go and just opening it up to mobile. Because, if there's one thing that, we can say about mobile games that probably won't be negative is the fact that it's not going anywhere, even though like um, the average players per day is going to go up and down. Mobile's not going to die anytime soon, and that's definitely the best place to put Pokemon. And like if you wanted to grab Pokemon from previous generations, it was always difficult, and being able to use Pokemon Go and Pokemon Home as a resource to bring them in now is definitely an interesting point. They also made sure to mention that the game is coming out on the Nintendo Switch family of systems. So, it's probably not going to be a day one Switch 2 thing, but it's definitely going to be something that is going to continue to be evergreen. So I'm definitely interested in this one. And then there's Pokemon Legends ZA. I was a huge fan of Arceus. In fact, I thought it was a better game than Scarlet and Violet. And I think that since they're going to be limited to Lumio City, we might see a better performing game there. Like, I thought Pokemon Scarlet and Violet were fantastic, and if that game performed better, like I'm talking about things like the graphics and the frame rate. I think it might have been the best Pokemon game there was. But what I really liked about Legends Arceus was just the alternative way to play it. They've made changes to the battle system where you can go ahead and move the trainer around and choose the specific time for your Pokemon to attack. One thing that I've always wished we've had from the Pokemon RPGs is sort of a system similar to what we see with the Tales games, where you can just control the Pokemon directly and make it feel like a fighting game. This feels like sort of going in between. It almost like feels like the way Trails has gone now, where you can go ahead and switch back and forth between action and turn-based gameplay, and this looks like it adds sort of another feel to that. I don't know how I feel about the Pokemon trainers, jumping on the roofs of buildings and stuff. That was kind of random, but at the end of the day, this is an open world experience that I'm looking forward to seeing. And seeing these open world games that take place in cities that aren't Grand Theft Auto and don't have you stealing cars and stuff is always pretty cool to see. And I'm going to be interested in seeing that with Pokemon Legends.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what when ZA comes out later this year, but that should be a big one for Nintendo. So yeah, let's see. We got more news here. Bloober Team announced that they are working on a new game with Konami. They're not specifying what it is, just calling it Project G. Saying it's based on one of their existing franchises, but it seems like the safe money is on Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Making a new one for them. But maybe they'll go wild and go with something else. Maybe they'll make a new Castlevania or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's good news for them because they did very well with Silent Hill 2. And a safe move for Konami to pick them back up for a new game. So we'll have to see what that is going to be, but probably going to be a couple of years before we even find out. So that'll be a little while. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's dope to see. I mean, I'm not sure what else Bloober Team has worked on, but Konami has a lot of valuable IP. We already mentioned Silent Hill. There's also Castlevania. We have Suikoden coming out this week, the remakes for 1 and 2, and I have a lot of faith in Metal Gear Solid Delta coming out and doing well. So yeah, I would love to see more Konami IP come back.
Yeah, so there you go. We do have some news here from Xbox. they have delayed Fable to 2026.
Mm-hmm.
That pushes that out even further. Seems like they want to give Fable some more time to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be good to see because we still haven't seen much of that game, so I wasn't not a huge surprise that it wasn't coming out anytime soon. Though I think as part of this, they put out a little video you can see with a little bit more gameplay with that. But they got a. It seemed like they have a decent amount of games coming out this year, so hopefully that'll be uh, able to do fine without Fable this year. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Again, it's they. How many times have they delayed this game at this point?
I think this last year was the first year they put any sort of release timing on it.
Yeah.
With just 2025. So
yeah, because they've been talking about this game for a long time, and we barely got like any real material out of it except a couple of trailers that don't like have any gameplay in them. So I just I liked the original Fable trilogy. Thought they were really fun, even if Peter Molyneux being Peter Molyneux, he oversold some stuff, but I want this game to be good, is what I'm saying. But Microsoft isn't really giving me a whole lot of. Microsoft is not exactly giving me a whole lot of confidence in that so far, with the way they've been really stingy with releasing any material about it.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it just might be the case where, like, they've hit snags in development, and like you said, Brandon, like, you're not the only person that wants this next Fable to be good. I'm sure Microsoft wants that too, and continuing to delay it gives it its best chance. My main thing, though, is like, well, first of all, I wouldn't really call it a delay when all you've done was announce a year. Like, once things have real dates and then we go ahead and delay from there, that's what a delay is to me. At the same time, it's like whenever you delay a game, you're also paying the staff for a few more or for much more time, just depending on how much you delay it by. And when you do that, then that means the expectations for sales go up. And I don't see that happening, especially with Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass model.
Mm-hmm.
So they've already like raised the price on that, but I'm pretty sure that's not gonna like equate to however much they want on sales. But you would think that Fable might come to PlayStation, maybe Switch too. I don't know. But yeah, like at the end of the day, I don't really have much. It's not a faith thing, but I've never played a Fable game, so I don't really have a connection to the series. So like I'm indifferent about where it goes. But yeah, I want it to be good too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. You have to wait a little longer for more Fable. And I would say that's a trilogy. The original trilogy is something that maybe could use some ports to the modern platforms, make them a little easier to play, better quality of life. Because I've gone back and tried to resume where I was at in Fable 2, and boy, that's a hard game to jump back into out of nowhere. Because they touted that as like it's one button combat, and it's like boy, nothing else there acts like any sort of modern RPG that you would think of in the last 15 years. And 3 is a game that was plenty criticized because it kind of worked on a timeline of sorts, and there were easy ways of wasting time that you didn't think you were going to waste in that game. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see those get like PC ports or something. But
yeah,
especially while you're waiting for the new game.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get to some good news here. The one bit of good news here: Balatro and Luck Be a Legend have won their PEGI appeals to get their 18 plus ratings stripped and lowered to 12 plus.
Thank goodness.
After bringing up pretty reasonable reasons why they are not games that promotes gambling and that kind of stuff.
Mostly because you're not actually gambling anything when you play these.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real money that's exchanging hands or anything. It's all digital. And, the only thing you can gamble is points.
Yeah.
That outside of the game are completely worthless. So,
yeah.
Yeah, and the points are easy to get to, so it's not really a big deal at all.
mm-hmm.
This is definitely like, people are going to wonder why this is news, but at the end of the day, like, there are laws that prevent, selling games to like minors and whatever it may be, even though it's a lot easier to acquire them these days with downloading them. But at the same time, it's like if you're an M-rated game or whatever the equivalent is to that with Peggy, you're automatically going to sell less just because like you don't have the kids to sell to.
Yeah. So yeah, they won their appeals to be lowered from 18 plus to 12 plus. As Peggy said here, the complaints board concluded that although Balatro explains the various hands of poker, the roguelike deck building game contained mitigating fantastical elements that warranted a Peggy 12 rating.
Mm-hmm.
They also explained for Luck Be a Landlord was also because the same arguments as above applied, although the game features a slot machine mechanic, there were no specific transferable gambling skills. Which is like if having a slot machine mechanic in the game would cause that, there's a bunch of games that would be getting their ratings bumped up.
Yeah, like Pokemon Red and Blue. They have a literal casino in there that a 10-year-old plays in. And the funniest thing about that is one of the machines is rigged to always win. So yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make those M-rated.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good. And yeah. See if there's any more information. Nope. But let's get to our big bad news of the week. Warner Brothers has canceled the Wonder Woman game, and
which
along
sucks.
with that, along with that, has shut down 3 studios.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, Monolith Productions, that had been making games for over 30 years at this point. Then Player First Games, the makers of Multiverses.
Mm-hmm.
Then also WB San Diego, a studio they set up in 2019 to make mobile games, and then the pandemic hit. That I imagine caused a lot of issues with hiring up a team to make a full mobile game. I looked at the recent Warner Brothers releases on mobile and did not see them mentioned as a developer on any of them, so I imagine they must have mostly done support developments until they were able to make their own game. But that seemed to be the most minor part of this news. Player First Games is kind of the most hilarious thing to shut down because of the name of the studio. They're much like, yeah, we're putting the players first, and Warner Brothers ain't having that. We gotta shut them down. Their game's not making enough money for us. So yeah, that's a shame because they acquired the studio as part of this. So I think that I saw somebody describe that it's probably because that was cheaper in the long run versus continuing to whatever sort of contract they were working on to support the game. It was probably cheaper to just acquire the studio and then as a result now shutting them down so they don't have to pay them any further for a game that's going to be shut down here in a couple of months. So that's fun. But yeah, Monolith Productions also getting shut down, and sort of part of this is that I think in 2019 when they were finished up with Middle Earth Shadow of War, with all the development after that, a bunch of the leadership of the studio left, probably in part being frustrated with a lot of Warner Brothers bullshit at that point.
Yeah,
I think that was a lot of the time frame when they were looking to potentially sell Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment, any of the potential studios and whatnot for that. And yeah, that's not a huge surprise. So probably in the part of starting up a big important game like Wonder Woman and having to hire or figure out who to promote into leadership roles to replace these people and hire up more people to work on the game and all that. They seem to have various setbacks throughout, and probably whatever review meeting they had most recently that led to this decision. The game still wasn't in a good shape as far as they wanted, so much easier just cancel the game and shut down the studio and just throw out,
all that work.
Yeah, it's a studio that had just celebrated their 30th anniversary last October. So much like when Volition got shut down, that was like a couple of weeks after their 30th anniversary celebration. Just lose a lot of history there as a studio that made a ton of important games to the industry. They made, let's see here, Blood, which was kind of a Doom clone of sorts. No One Lives Forever, that in the second game were sort of huge cult favorite PC games that nobody's been able to really untangle the rights to of that game to get new versions put out. Then they made Fear, which was just a landmark first-person shooter on PC that merged horror elements with bullet slow down bullet style, matrix style mechanics to it, with a lot of good physics, engine stuff there, and all that was a big deal when that came out in the late 90s. And then you had other games like Shogo Mobile Armor Division. What else did they make here? They made Blood 2, Alien vs. Predator 2, Tron 2.0 on the PC and Xbox. They made The Matrix Online before they handed it off to Sony Online Entertainment. Condemned Criminal Origins, Condemned 2, Gotham City Imposters, Guardians of Middle Earth, and RTS. No, that's the MOBA game. The Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Shadow of War, before moving on to Wonder Woman, and that being their last game they were working on. So, just in a frustrating way, just losing more important game development history as a result of losing one of these big important studios that now just become IP that Warner Brothers owns but will never touch for various reasons. Because I think in part of this announcement they were talking about how the key franchises that they have for the future is Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. So that's going to be most of the properties you're going to see their developers working on for the foreseeable future. So, there you go. Just more frustrating news. I don't know if you had anything to add, Brandon.
Not really, other than the fact that I'm just sick that, we once again had the chance for a really great Wonder Woman game that could come about, and once again it gets shafted. And it's yet another example of Warner Brothers essentially just, sinking all of this money and labor into all of these huge projects, and yet no matter how far ahead they into it, they just decide that they'll go ahead and just burn it and take the insurance money. Yeah. And, it doesn't matter all the people who end up losing their jobs or whatever. They just slash, burn, and then run.
Yep. That's their MO at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just lame all around. WB doesn't really have very many studios left. I think it's just like NetherRealm, and I don't even know who else. And it's tough to see. That being said, I haven't heard very many great things happening with the Wonder Woman game. In fact, I've heard a lot of it trying to make it into a live service title, which would pretty much have put it dead in the water in the first place. So that's hard to hear. But there definitely is promise with these properties. You have DC, and while they're not really known for anything great, just seeing what happened with Rocksteady is just rough to begin with. Batman Arkham was the the pride of the industry at one point, and now Rocksteady has more or less like become like the laughing stock, and it wasn't even their fault.
No.
They're seeing all this money that can be made with live service, but the market doesn't really call for it anymore. And like yeah, like it's tough. Anybody trying to get into like that part of the industry is failing, and part of the reason is because you want to see immediate return, and that's what happens when you have like a whole bunch of investors who don't know about gaming, and they try to get into the business. And that being said, like we also have decision makers who are into gaming and are forced into roles that they don't want to be in, and all of a sudden like they're getting like the bad point for it too. Like like Microsoft has done like what 3 layoffs at this point, and like it's easy to point fingers at Phil Spencer, but at the end of the day, it's like he has people to report to himself, and it's just rough to see that where we're seeing all of these people just just get dumped off God knows where, and we don't know what's going to happen with them. Like I don't know how the industry can like recover from it. We're still like January seemed like it was getting better, but with everything that we've seen in February, it doesn't seem like anything got better at all. It seemed like the layoffs just caught up some more. But yeah, like I don't know what WB wants to do, whether they still want to be in the business or whether they should do what Disney is doing and just contract their IP to various or license their IP to various developers, because that seems to be working. But yeah, it's just tough, and you want to see it get better, but I don't know how you do it without really focusing on B-level games, and the reality is nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I was looking at the studios that Warner Brothers still has. There's Avalanche Software, the people that made the Harry Potter game. There's NetherRealm Studios, makers of Mortal Kombat. Rocksteady Studios, which they've had layoffs lately because of the result of the Suicide Squad game. There's TT Games, the people that make the Lego games and all that. Warner Brothers Games Montreal, which is the people that made Batman Arkham Origins and Gotham Knights, which themselves not such a great track record. There's Warner Brothers Games Boston, which was formerly Turbine Software, the makers of Asheron's Call and Dungeons and Dragons Online and Lord of the Rings Online, that kind of thing. So they've been dealt with there, and WB New York and San Francisco, which seem more like support studios kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of what they got at the moment, and obviously they'll work with external studios and whatnot on things, but yeah, not a ton. But yeah, there you go. More disappointing Warner Brothers news, but we got some more positive stuff here with 2 showcases. We'll kind of work through this pretty quickly. Annapurna Interactive Showcase had a number of things here. They showed off some games here. Wheeled World, that'll be out this summer. It's PS5, Xbox, PC, and it'll be on Game Pass. There's Wonder Stop that'll be out March 11th. PS5, Xbox, and PC. There's Skin Deep, a neat-looking first-person shooter that's out on April 30th on PC. They also announced they're publishing the next game from Cocoon's developer. So that was a very cool game. So they're making their next thing for Annapurna. They got a game called Lush Foil Photography Sim coming out to PS5, Xbox, and PC on April 15th. Which that's a weird little game. It's very much just essentially a photo mode as a game itself.
Yeah.
As you're just going through these realistic recreations of beautiful locations that you're taking, pictures of, forests and buildings and all this kind of stuff. Very much a photography nerds kind of game. That looks really neat. So that's one that you can check out here in another month or so. There's To a T. That is a weird title for a game, but it makes sense when you realize this is Keita Takahashi's new game, the creator of Katamari Damacy.
And you can just look at it and it's like, yep, that is definitely him.
Yep.
He has a certain kind of art style, and you see it show up in every project he's related in.
Yeah. That'll be out on PS5, Xbox, PC, and Game Pass on May 28th. Yeah, with his developer Uvula, which is
Mm-hmm.
still a weird name to name a developer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's see. That's a 3D narrative adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where I think you're a character that just T poses a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where the name comes from.
Yep.
So yeah, that's looks like that should be a pretty fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
Part of their key features is just one that says a very cute dog. So there you go. Yeah, you just go explore the town, do some mini games, talk to people, do some stuff, and probably have a weird time. So, which makes sense. So there you go. That'll be out in May. And then the last thing they announced, Sayonara Wild Hearts,
Yep.
is getting a PS5 version. It's out now.
Mm-hmm.
It is a free upgrade. So you have the PS4 version. You can just grab that for free. That includes a new remix mode that they announced. Lets you speed through infinitely replayable levels and increase high scores and random sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
All with no loading. 4K support, 120 frames per second, and uses the haptic feedback on the DualSense controller for gameplay reasons. So that sounds like that's a very fun time. So there you go. Some nice stuff there.
Yeah.
Especially Wheel World's kind of a neat looking game, is like an open world biking game of weirdness. So yeah, they got a nice slate of games coming out in the next couple of months here.
Yeah, I'm particularly interested in Wonder Stop because that's by a lot of the people who did
The Stanley Parable.
Yeah, the Stanley Parable. God, why couldn't I remember it? I've played that game like a dozen times. Yeah, and I remember like the last trailer they did before the most recent one, which seemed to suggest that there's like a more darker undertone going underneath the sort of, cozy game atmosphere the game's trying to do. And so I'm just kind of interested in seeing like what kind of weirdness we can get out of that game. Also, Lush Foil, a photography sim, because I like photography, and this looks like a fun little Zen game that I could play sometime. And yeah, Wheel World also looks interesting as well.
Yeah. How about you, Danner? Anything you're checking out?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one, especially with the way it jumped back and forth to each developer so they can talk about it a little bit. But yeah, the ones that I really liked, the ones that I liked the most was actually to a T. It is very much, as Brandon said, like reminiscent of every game that he's done before. So I'm looking forward to trying that one out. And just this song won me over. I'm like, all right, this looks stupid, and I'm totally in. Wheel World was also a pretty cool one. I downloaded the Next Fest demo, but I haven't tried it yet. And Lush Foil, actually, like it looked like the just something cozy, and like the just the visuals of that game were pretty tremendous. Like if and when I get to that game, I would love to see how it was made, because I don't know if they're like using like actual renders, or if they actually just created those backgrounds themselves. But yeah, it definitely looked pretty awesome there. And Skin Deep doesn't look like it's a game for me, but I have had fun with games that are like that, and I do want to try that out. And I've talked about in the past how I've wanted to play Sayonara Wild Hearts but never did. But now with the free upgrade, I probably will at this point. But yeah, just I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go for that.
Yep.
Got some nice stuff there. The idea of the Xbox Showcase also had some nice stuff. They seem to have their format down a bit better than previously, though I would still say there's a couple of weirdness. Because yeah, there's one more game that was shown off in the they had 2 hours essentially, did about 40 minutes of just showing trailers, and had some podcasts and interview stuff and whatnot after that IGN did. There's one game that's on this list in the article that did not get shown in the showcase. It got shown later off. Ultimate Sheep Raccoon, which is the sequel to Ultimate Chicken Horse. but instead of it being a platformer thing, it's sort of a 2D sort of vehicle platformer thing. But that's coming to Game Pass, I guess. No date as far as I could tell. So yeah, there's that. But we'll get to the rest of the stuff here. Let's see, Revenge of the Savage Planet. That is coming to PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Game Pass on May 8th. That's sequel to the Journey to the Savage Planet. I think it was the full title. Like I just realized they ordered all these games by alphabet versus when they showed up. So, okay. Then there's Jump Ship. Yeah, which is a cooperative first-person shooter thing. It'll be going to early access this summer on Xbox and PC. That's something you can check out. Let's see. There's Echo Weaver. It's a neat-looking game that they call a Metroid Brainia. A fast-paced Metroid Brainia. That'll be launching on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC in 2025. It'll also be on Game Pass. So that's one you can check out. Let's see. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault will be out later this year. It'll be on PS5, Xbox, PC, and Game Pass. We got to see a bit more of that. Blueprints, which was at the State of Play a couple weeks ago. I got a trailer here with the dates. That'll be out April 10th. That'll be out on PlayStation, Xbox, PC, PS Plus, and Game Pass. So it'll be on both services on April 10th. So you'll be able to check that out next month. There's Outbound, which is a neat looking game. This is from let's see, Silver Lining Games and developer Square Glade Games. This is an open world camper van exploration game. There's going to be just on PC and Xbox next year. It's set in a utopian near future. You start with an empty camper van and turn it into the home of your dreams. You sort of explore, scavenge materials, and craft additions that you can make to this camper van. It's kind of a VW camper bus kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of adding on to it things like maybe solar panels to help power things, and maybe a place for a garden and all this kind of weird stuff you can add on to it. It seems like a neat little game, exploration kind of game. So that's neat looking. But yeah, that's out next year. There's Herdling, which is the new Okomotive game from the makers of the Far games. That is coming to PS5, Xbox, and PC this summer. So that'll be happening a little bit later this year. There's Wax Heads, which is a neat looking like record store clerk game. Yeah, where you are working at this record store, and I'm not sure if you're making recommendations or whatnot, but you're definitely like helping people find things they want, that kind of stuff. But it's definitely like one of those kind of things where you're kind of just dealing with customers for a thing. So that looks neat. Wax Heads for that. Yeah, that looks neat. That's summer of next year. Let's see, The Lonesome Guild. This is Don't Nod's next publishing game from a studio called Tiny Bowl Studios. It's a top-down single-player action RPG for the PS5, Xbox, and PC. That'll be out this fall. Yeah, that looks neat. It's got a nice art style to it and all that, so that's one to keep an eye on. Buckshot Roulette, which was sort of a big indie release on PC last year, I think it was, which is essentially based on Russian roulette, that style of game, except it's using a shotgun. They added multiplayer at some point last year, I believe. But this will be coming to Xbox sometime later this year, as well as Game Pass, so you can play that. So yeah, that looks neat if you like your weird little games.
Oh yeah. That's one of those games that sort of became a cult classic, like very quickly after it was uh, published, because it's not a complicated game at all. Like you said, it's literally just Russian roulette with a shotgun. Um, but it has those, weird sort of dark undertones to it, and it's a good game for like, streaming. So it became really popular.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we got Hotel Barcelona here, the new game from White House Inc.
Hmm.
That's Swery's studio. That's making a 2.5D slasher film parodic adventure game or action game.
Hmm.
That'll be on PS5, Xbox, and PC later this year. We just got to see a bit more of that. So yeah, there you go. That'll be out later this year. Then we got Balatro, basically to announce that it's coming to Game Pass alongside a new updates for Friends of Jimbo Pack 4 update.
Hmm.
Adds new collaborations that you can skin your face cards with. That adds Assassin's Creed, Bug Snacks, Critical Role, Dead by Daylight, Fallout,
Hmm.
Rust, Civilization 7, Slay the Princess, and I'm not sure if there's any more there. But yeah, a bunch of those that you can now use for your face cards if that
Hmm.
interests you. So there you go. Let's see, Rock Beasts,
Hmm.
another game that's PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC later this year. It's like a band management RPG.
Yep.
So that looks neat. Yeah,
Mm.
a bunch of anthropomorphic animals kind of
Yep.
thing. Looks like an Adult Swim style show
Hmm.
kind of thing to it. So that's one you can check out later this year.
Hmm.
Then Ratatan, which is the game from the team that made Patapon. They're
Hmm.
making a new game. They got kickstarted a couple of years ago. I got a code for the beta they put out a couple days ago,
Hmm.
and it's very much that. So the big change they do, besides the roguelite gameplay, is instead of having the edges of the screen flashing for when you need to do your notes, they're going to show you a bespoke little um, thing on the screen for showing you when you need to hit things
Hmm.
that you try and keep up with, which is very tough early on because you don't have very many uh, Ratatan, I guess, and all
Yep.
that, and you're picking up like little perks on occasion, but also picking up um, different kinds of currencies and whatnot to
Hmm.
spend on upgrades and such. So that's that. That is they just showed a new trailer for that.
Hmm.
There's Tempopo, which is the new game from the studio that made what is it, Witch Beam. I don't remember which. Unpacking, Assault Android Cactus,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. This is their next game, which is a puzzle game of sorts.
Hmm.
I guess what they call a contemplative puzzle game.
Hmm.
Guide your Tempopo to rescue musical flowers across the imaginative sky islands and arrange them in your own melodic garden. Okay, yeah, you're like setting up the directions they're gonna go and when they're gonna do stuff, kind of thing. So that's
Hmm.
cool. That's coming to Xbox, Switch, and PC on April 17th. It'll be on Game Pass as well.
Hmm.
Then there's Widow, which is, let me see, on PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC. This is, um, yeah, a neat looking game. Seems like very much like a 3D puzzle game based around like dioramas kind of stuff,
Hmm.
where you're trying to change how the characters are doing things to get different kinds of solutions, I think.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that looks neat. No date on that, so it could be out whenever.
Hmm.
Then we got a new trailer for Tanuki Pon Summer. They'll be out late this year. Xbox, Switch, and PC, and Game Pass. This is basically a mail delivery adventure game of
Hmm.
sorts. So you're a Tanuki who's a mail carrier delivering mail for people in the town, and doing various other odds and ends for them.
Hmm.
And along the way, you're doing it on a BMX bike, so you're doing tricks and such. obviously. So yeah, that'll be on Game Pass whenever it hits later this year. There's that, and then Descenders next. The next game from the people that made the previous Descenders game, which was a bike focused sort of dream sports game of sorts. So it seems like they're taking that and applying it to snowboarding. I don't know if there's skiing in here, but yeah, that looks neat. Kind of that same kind of aspect of you doing these runs, and it's a roguelite kind of thing. So as you get further in, you're picking what sort of challenges you're going for, all that kind of stuff. But that seems like it's going to be Xbox and PC at launch on April 9th. It'll also be on Game Pass as well. So yeah, that'll be cool to see. And then we got a couple more here to end. Tron Catalyst, that'll finally be out on PS5, Xbox, Switch, and PC on June 17th. It's from Bithell Games. And then they ended on 33 Immortals. They'll be launching in early access on March 18th. This is sort of the 33-player battle royale kind of thing. Well, maybe not battle royale-esque, but you're kind of coming together to beat a boss with 32 other people in sort of a roguelite kind of co-op game of sorts. It'll be on Game Pass. So this is from Thunder Lotus Games, who has made a bunch of other stuff. Spiritfarer, the most recent game, as well as what else is there? Sundered and Jotun are their other games. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff there. But yeah, that's the idea to Xbox showcase some solid stuff here. I think for me, Moonlighter 2 is a big one. I'm looking forward to Outbound. Seems really cool, but that's out next year, so I can wait on that. Hurdling would be another one I'd like to be checking out, but that also doesn't have a date. Same with Wax Heads. But for things that have dates here, Tempopo definitely something I would like to check out. As well as the Sender's next. That seems like it should be neat. And 33 Immortals. I played a little bit of that. They've been doing like early, like alpha tests and such. I played a little bit there. So that's neat. That's a neat little game. Pretty weird, but works pretty neatly. See how well it looks when it's going out in early access here in a couple of weeks. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's been the stuff that most interests me here. How about you, Brandon?
Well, let's see. Not as many things interested me this time around. There are a couple. I did like Outbound did look interesting. Wax Heads also looked interesting because I'm a music guy and I love old vinyl stuff, so that might end up being something I'll be into. The Lonesome Guild also looks like a lot of fun. And I think, that's just about, except Tanuki Pond Summer. That actually looks kind of interesting too. But other than that, this one was kind of bland for me.
How about you, Dan Rip?
Yeah, I didn't watch this, so like I had to just open up all the links and go ahead and judge the book by its cover. The one that I'm most excited for would probably be Moonlighter 2, just because the previous one was really good, although I didn't finish it. But yeah, it looks like it's definitely a step up. Blueprints also look nice, and then yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on Brandon's boat here. Tanuki is probably the one that caught my eye the most. Lonesome Guild looks really fun, and yeah, Donut is really publishing like a variety of cool indie games here, so I'm looking forward to that one. I talked about Tanuki already, and Outbound looks cool, but talking about a 2026 game at this point doesn't excite me. So yeah, I'll look forward to it when it comes next year. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, so yeah, that's gonna do it for the show this week. Had plenty to talk about. Hopefully next week will be a little more chill and stop announcing 35, 40 different things at once. That'd be nice. Spread it out a little bit. But yeah, thank you to Brandon and Danner for joining this week.
Always.
Yep.
We'll be back next week with a new slate of news and things to talk about. Hopefully, some less awful things and more cool stuff. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. If you enjoy the show, let friends and family know. They should check out the podcast and select strangers who are also looking forward to new things and cool things coming out. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you have a good week ahead. We will see you all next time. Have a good one.
Bye.